The Interstellar Military Academy on Varith Prime was considered the most prestigious war college in seven-star systems. 43 species sent their best and brightest there. The curriculum was brutal. The instructors were legends. The graduation rate was 31%, and that number included species with 4 times human lifespan, regenerative nervous systems, and exoskeletons rated to withstand low-caliber ballistic fire. Humans had been attending for 11 years. In 11 years, no human cadet had ever graduated below the top 15% of their class. The faculty found this annoying in ways they struggled to articulate. Varith Prime Military Academy, Parade Ground Gamma, 6 o'clock AST. The morning formation drill was miserable by design. The temperature on Varith Prime at dawn sat at approximately 4 degrees Celsius, with a wind that cut across the parade ground like it had a personal grievance. For most species attending the academy, this was a genuine physical hardship. The Tellurians shivered in their thermal wraps. The OSSEC cadets, despite their insectoid frames being rated for vacuum, still hunched against the wind in a way that suggested instinctive misery. The 2 human cadets in formation stood straight. Jack Mercer was 22 years old, built like someone had stacked muscle onto a medium frame and then forgotten to stop. His file listed him as top of the Tactical Simulation Division, 3rd overall in the academy, and, noted in red by his commanding instructor, disturbingly calm under simulated casualty conditions. Recommend psychological evaluation. Evaluation returned normal. Concern remains. Beside him, Cadet Lily Okafor stood exactly 1 inch shorter, with the kind of stillness that experienced soldiers recognized immediately. Not the stillness of someone holding themselves rigid, but the stillness of someone who had simply decided to be still. Her file noted, exceptional spatial reasoning, unsettling accuracy scores, smiles too much during combat drills. Investigate. They had been friends since orientation week, when Jack had watched Lily disassemble and reassemble a Varith pattern rifle in 40 seconds using only her non-dominant hand, and had decided immediately that she was the most interesting person on the planet. This morning, they stood in the 3rd row of formation, waiting. General Vosterrin was late. This was, everyone knew, intentional. General Vosterrin of the OSSEC hierarchy was the Academy's supreme drill commander, a title he held with the full, terrible weight of a being who had spent 60 years weaponizing authority. He was large even by OSSEC standards, nearly 7 feet of layered chitin, with 4 upper limbs and a command voice that had been known to physically vibrate windows. His military record was legitimate and impressive. His management philosophy was less so. He believed, profoundly and without apology, in what he called stress inoculation. Other instructors called it targeted psychological cruelty toward cadets he found insufficiently deferential. The cadets he found most insufficiently deferential, in 11 years of teaching, were invariably human. He entered the parade ground at a march that made the flagstones ring. He walked the formation with the slow, deliberate pace of a predator checking a fence line. Cadets locked their eyes forward. The Tellurians trembled slightly harder. He stopped in front of Jack. Jack stared forward. Parade rest. Textbook. Cadet Mercer, Vosterrin said. Sir, your formation spacing is 3 centimeters off regulation. A pause. Jack's spacing was not off. Every cadet in the row knew it. The formation AI logging the drill would later confirm it. Sir, Jack said. Spacing is within regulation tolerance, sir. Silence. Several cadets stopped breathing. Correcting General Vosterrin was not done. It was the kind of thing that cadets whispered about, not because it had happened, but because they wondered what would happen if it did. Vosterrin stepped closer. His voice dropped to something low and grinding. Are you contradicting a superior officer, cadet? I am providing accurate information to a superior officer, sir. A long, terrible pause. Then General Vosterrin raised one of his upper limbs, the largest, the one with the hardened chitin striking edge that OSSEC warriors used in close combat, and he struck Jack across the face with the back of it. It was not a full combat strike. It was, in OSSEC culture, a correction blow, the kind delivered to subordinates who had overstepped. In OSSEC military tradition, it was technically within a superior's rights, though it had been quietly removed from the official Academy Code of Conduct 4 years ago. Vosterrin was aware of this. He simply did not particularly care. The blow snapped Jack's head to the side. The entire formation went rigid. Lily's eyes moved, just barely, a millimeter, to Jack. 3 seconds passed. In the first second, Jack's head turned back to center. Slowly, deliberately. In the second, the formation watched something happen to Jack Mercer's face that none of them had seen before on any species. A kind of settling, like a landscape right before a geological event. His jaw set. His eyes, which had been the flat professional neutral of a cadet in formation, became something else entirely. Something very, very focused. In the third second, Jack stepped out of formation. This was, by Academy regulation, completely forbidden during a formation drill without direct superior authorization. Boss Terran had not moved. He seemed, in fact, to be waiting, with the satisfaction of someone who had just gotten the reaction they wanted. Insubordination. A breakdown. Something he could write up and use. What he got instead was Jack Mercer standing directly in front of him, at a distance of roughly 1 meter, at something that was technically parade rest, but felt like something else entirely. General Vosterin, Jack said. His voice was level. Completely level. And somehow that was worse than shouting would have been. You struck a cadet. That is a violation of Academy Conduct Code, Section 14, Subsection 7, formally adopted 4 years ago, and binding on all faculty regardless of species origin military tradition. A pause. I am formally notifying you that I am filing a grievance within the hour. Vosterin stared at him. Furthermore, Jack continued, in the same flat, even tone, you should know that I grew up on a fishing trawler in the North Atlantic. I have been struck by waves, booms, rigging, cargo equipment, and once, memorably, a very large fish. Your correction blow registered, to my nervous system, as approximately equivalent to the fish. He tilted his head slightly. I am not telling you this to be disrespectful, sir. I am telling you this so that you have accurate information. Somewhere in the formation, a Thalluran cadet made a very small, involuntary sound. Lily Okafor had gone completely, utterly still. Vosterin's chitin was doing something, a rippling, which in OSSEC physiology indicated a cascade of internal processing. His command voice, when it came, had lost approximately 30% of its resonance. You will return to formation, cadet, and you will face consequences for. I will return to formation, Jack agreed. After you acknowledge that the strike was conducted in violation of Academy Code. For the record, sir, which is being logged. He glanced up at the formation AI sensor cluster mounted on the parade ground wall. It logs everything. Audio and visual. Full spectrum. Vosterin followed his gaze. The sensor cluster blinked its standard active recording indicator. Another silence. This one had a different texture. The blow, Vosterin said, and his voice was much, much quieter now, was an error in protocol. Thank you, sir. Return to formation. Sir. Jack stepped back into his place in the third row with the same parade rest precision he'd held before. His face had returned to the professional neutral. As if nothing had happened. Lily glanced at him sideways. He glanced back. She looked forward again, and the corners of her mouth did something complicated and very small. Vosterin completed the formation inspection in 11 minutes, the shortest on record. He dismissed the cadets without the usual additional stress exercises. He walked off the parade ground at a pace that experienced observers would describe as controlled retreat. In the officers' observation room overlooking parade ground Gamma, 2 senior faculty members had watched the entire incident. Commander Seal, a Thalluran tactician with 30 years of academy service, turned to her colleague. He filed the grievance before breakfast, she said. I've already received the notification. Admiral Poyen Vasek, who had graduated from this same academy 60 years ago and had seen many things, said nothing for a moment. The OSSEC are a warrior culture, he said finally. They respect strength. He watched the cadets disperse across the parade ground below. They struck him expecting submission or rage. They got neither. A pause. They got procedure. Seal considered this. Is that worse? For Vosterin, the Admiral watched Jack and Lily walking toward the mess hall, already talking, easy, unhurried, like 2 people who had not just faced down a 7-foot general. Considerably. The grievance was upheld within 72 hours. General Vosterin was formally censured. He was required to attend a remedial cross-species conduct seminar, a requirement that, in the history of the academy had never before been applied to a faculty member of his rank. He sat in the seminar for 6 hours next to a Sealand counselor who spoke very gently and used a lot of diagrams. Jack Mercer graduated 8 months later, first in his class, the highest individual ranking any human had achieved at the academy. At the graduation ceremony, Lily Okafor graduated second. She had smiled through the entire thing. The incident report was filed in Academy records under cross-species conduct violation, faculty, resolution, formal censure. A footnote was added by Admiral Pierre Vasek, which read, "Note for future faculty reference. Human cadets do not respond to intimidation as expected. They respond to intimidation with documentation, regulation citation, and an apparently limitless capacity to remain calm while making you deeply uncomfortable. Adjust approach accordingly." Below this, someone had added in handwritten notation, "Species unknown," but the handwriting suggested Thallurin. Or just don't hit them. Honestly, just don't.